Hi, I'm Chris. This is Finding God at Work. Just a reminder that Finding God at Work isn't just a podcast, it's also an online course. Check it out at findinggodatwork.org. Today we're concluding our series, Meaningful Work, Calling, Formation, Service, and Love. Have you ever been to a really good retirement party? A couple of years ago, I had the privilege of attending the retirement party for Mr. Clum, who had been the principal and head of school at the school I attended as a child. Now, this school, in many ways, was small. It was K through 8 school, not necessarily the most impressive place in the world. It was an evangelical institution founded by graduates of Wheaton College. And Mr. Clum had dedicated his whole career to this school. In its smallness and in its everydayness. He started as a teacher, he became an administrator, and he just gave it his all. And that was so clear. And, at that retirement party, we were holding it in a new building that had been built from the ground up for the school. The school was thriving, enrollment was up, there were lots of resources in place to serve students well, there were new initiatives to make financial aid possible for students from different backgrounds to come to the school. A lot of cool things were happening. But you know what people talked about at Mr. Clum's retirement party, at that celebration? They didn't talk about how amazing the school was or how the school had grown and changed. They talked about how Mr. Clum loved people. They talked about how when there were gatherings and everybody got to eat, he would always wait and eat last. They talked about how he would learn children's names and get down and talk to them on their level, which was challenging for him to do because I think he's like 6'7". They talked about how he would coach his basketball teams and call out the best in the students that he coached. I had stories like that I could remember from my interactions with Mr. Clum. And there was a reason that I decided to go show up, as an adult in my 30s to his retirement party. Because I remembered what it was like to be in the hallway and to see his face light up. Or to be having a conversation and to know that he really took what you were saying seriously, even though you were just a kid. People knew love because of Mr. Clum. People experienced love because of Mr. Clum. People experienced God's love because of Mr. Clum. That's a really good retirement party. And for all of us, as we think about our work, I hope we're all headed towards a retirement party like that. Regardless of whether it's recognized in an actual celebration where people tell stories like that or not, there's something about what we leave behind us that really matters in our work. And yes, as we've talked about, God accomplishes things in the world through our work. But even more than whatever we might accomplish in our work, what we leave behind is whether or not we loved. Did our work hold love? Was it a vessel for the love of God to the people around us and to the world beyond us? Inasmuch as it was, our work mattered. That's going to be true someday at your retirement party. That's going to be true someday at your funeral. It's going to be true in eternity. That the way you lived, the way you worked, inasmuch as it was love, that's what made it matter. That's where the meaning really was. So as we come to the end of a series about making work meaningful, trying to figure out what's the meaning that's already there in our work and how can we contribute to the meaning in our work, we've looked at lots of different dimensions. And our work and our lives are multifaceted. We've talked about how to love is to will the good. And you as a human being, you have a will, you have a capacity to choose inside of you. And that a machine or an AI doesn't have that. And so you have a unique capacity to love other people in a way that a machine never can. And that's part of why your human work is meaningful. We talked about how you as a human being were created by God to give yourself away. That there's a way that you only discover your true self by giving the gift of your true self to other people. And so as you give yourself away in your work and in other ways, you become more of who you are. You discover more of who you are. We talked about service, how adopting the humble posture of Jesus to love and to serve others actually is where the greatest nobility and exaltation lies in our careers. We talked about just practical ways to love other people, how you can encourage your teammates, you can pray for your teammates, you can forgive your teammates and others when they sin against you. You can be generous with your money that you earn at your job to support people and causes that matter. When you experience suffering in your work, you can get through it by faith and choose to love others even when you're in pain. And that makes that love even more precious. So there's all these different dimensions. But what ties them all together is love. What ties them all together is God's love coming into our work. So I want to go back to the passage that we looked at in the very first episode of this series. This is from 1 John, the passage that famously says, God is love. So just going to read a couple verses. Don't have time to do the whole thing. This is from chapter 4, starting in verse 16. God is love, and whoever abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. By this is love perfected with us, so that we may have confidence for the day of judgment, because as he is, so also are we in this world. And then skipping ahead to verse 19, we love because he first loved us. In the first episode of this series, we looked a lot at that phrase, as he is, so also are we in this world. That you mean something in the world. Your life has meaning. When people look at you, it's like they're reading a word, and the word is love. Your life means the love of God to other people. And so the question is that really true? Is that really true of our lives, or is it just a nice idea? Because if we're growing in self-awareness and in humility by God's grace, a lot of the time people read that word and it says something besides love. It says ambition, it says pride, it says greed, it says disdain. What is the word that people read when they look at you this week? We're weak. We're sinners. We don't have what it takes to give people that pure, clear message of God's love in the way we live every day. But see, that's why that final verse 19 matters so much. We love because he first loved us. God spoke his perfect word into the world in the Word, Jesus Christ. Jesus, at every turn, was love. Every time that he put his hand to a hammer or a chisel to work on something as a carpenter, every time he put his hand on a child in blessing, every time he put his hand on someone suffering from leprosy or blindness to heal them, his hands were expressing the meaning of the world. His hands were showing people a word, and that word was love. Jesus ultimately showed that on the cross. When we look at the cross, we see love. We see all those things, all the dimensions and the facets of it, the forgiveness of God, the encouragement of God, the mercy of God, the justice of God. And ultimately, in all of those things, the love of God for people like us who don't deserve it, for people like us who don't measure up, who don't make the cut, who often hurt others and hurt ourselves because of our own proclivities for ambitions that don't satisfy. And Jesus rose again on the third day. And in his resurrection, he is still love. He gives himself as a gift of love to everyone who turns to him in faith. And that includes us. So when we turn to Jesus in faith, we receive that love of God for us. We receive that word that says love. and it begins to change us. We're not perfect right away. We're being perfected in love over time, like the passage says. But it's still real. It's still there. And so that's what ultimately makes your work meaningful, is your work a vessel for the love of God in Jesus Christ? Inasmuch as your work holds the love of God, your work matters. It is full of meaning. It is revealing the very meaning of the universe to the people around you. And whenever our work isn't motivated by love, whenever it's motivated by those other kind of false ambitions, it really isn't meaningful. God may still use it, but it's really not what we're meant to give to the world. So that's it. That's the simple way to have a meaningful career and to find meaning at your work every day, is to love. Inasmuch as you do your work as love, it matters, it counts, it's worth it. And inasmuch as it's not, it's not. It really is that simple at the end of the day. And at the end of the career, and at the end of the life. There's going to be a retirement party for you, whether it's now or in eternity, where people look back and they say, do you see on that day, during that work project, how this person, how they showed the meaning of the universe to the people around them? They were a word that day that people could read, and the word was love. You see this person when they were going through that terrible setback, loss of income, unemployment, difficulty finding work, but how they persevered and how they sought the good of others around them. When people looked at them, they saw that word and they could read it, and the word was love. You see that person, how they laid down ambition, chose a lower paying job that could serve others better, or chose to take care of a sick family member when they could have pursued something else. People looked at them and they could read that word, and that word was love. Your life matters. Your work matters. Because God is love. And as He is, so also are we in this world. Jesus, thank you that you are the pure, true, living love of God. Whole, without anything else mixed in. Make us more like you. Do your work in us as we do our work with you. Let us be love. Amen.
Thanks for listening. Finding God at Work is a production of Mission Central, a ministry based in Aurora, Illinois, dedicated to forming Christians for mission in everyday life. You can subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to this episode to get 10 minutes of teaching on faith and work every Thursday. To get resources to go deeper with each podcast series, read our blog, and get info about upcoming courses on faith in the workplace, go to our website, missioncentral.church.